So I'm here today. I'm Amy Drake from the County Council. I'm here with Andy Rutten on the County Council, Joe Thomas on the County Council, Randy Figg on the County Council. We're going to be having a meeting Tuesday night on a new park bond, which would be about $6 million to pay for a new park in Granger. This will be borrowing money. And so that is one of our concerns today. Right now we're in an environment where state legislators have just passed and the governor signed a property tax bill that will reduce the amount of revenues we expect in the coming 3 years at about $24 million. So the way that we're looking at our budget coming up is we have hiring freezes. We're looking at places to cut money or at least hold money steady. We're not giving pay raises. And so in this environment, our money, we have to be very careful with our money. And whether we should be taking out a loan right now to build another park is one of our concerns. We're here today at the amphitheater at St. Pat's Park because this is one of the existing projects we have at our county parks. We have about 5 county parks, and we're not really taking care of this project with the county borrowing this money. And so if we're not going to be taking care of the projects that already exist, we don't think it makes sense to be starting a new park, which is going to cost more money for upkeep, more money for maintenance, more money for staff. So we're just looking to spend our money responsibly if we're going to use a bond, to make sure that bond, which is again borrowing money, is used for things that are very necessary and needed, like public safety or roads. So we are not against parks, we are very pro parks. I think that you'll see when we have money, we do try to support the park system. In the last few years, we increased Leidick Bog by 100 acres. That was something that we could do because we had the money. So we do think that there's going to be some financial possibilities to expand the Granger Park later at a different time, but right now we haven't even gotten through our budget season. We'll be doing budget this summer for our 2026 budget, and then we're going to see how this state bill impacts us. And the financial planners are still working over this bill. It was a very big bill. They're not sure how it's going to impact us in a lot of ways. Until we see all the money, we feel like we need to hold back for our taxpayers, who right now are feeling particularly stressed with high assessments and property tax bills. Make sure that they feel their money is spent properly. This council passed a tax cut a couple years ago because we wanted to help taxpayers in that way, and we see this as another one of our ways to be fiscally responsible. So now I'm going to have Andy Rutten talk, and he's going to talk about the state bill.
Okay. Hey, Andy Rutten. Amy just mentioned a little bit about Senate Bill 1. Indiana approved that earlier this year, which provides a statewide property tax and business personal property tax reductions, along with making local taxing more transparent. In our community, the number one issue being discussed is the sharp increase in property taxes. Seniors are particularly affected. So Indiana revised tax law to change how local government entities such as our city and our county governments can levy taxes. So we feel that now is a good time to revisit spending strategy, to find ways to improve efficiency, and to realign focus on serving the voters. Taking on new debt seems to run counter to the goals of this new legislation. So we just want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible and being mindful of where our county government is spending money, if it has to be done right now, or if it can be deferred until a little bit later. Perhaps find better ways to be more responsible in raising funds, allocating funds, getting community to contribute to the effort. Thank you.
Joe.
Excuse me. Hi, Joe Thomas, St. Joe County Council, District A. I just want the taxpayers to know that we are for county parks. And when we have the funds, like Councilwoman Drake said, we will support the county parks. But now we're faced with going and borrowing more money and going into debt again, where with the assessed values of our properties have been skyrocketing, it's not fair to the taxpayer. Not to mention operational costs for a new park. We haven't seen any numbers at all. What's it going to cost to operate this new park? Now, this is not in our, we haven't even seen our budget going forward. We haven't even talked about it. Those operational costs, I think, should be going towards public safety, the sheriff's department. That should not be going to the county parks right now, because we have a priority and we want the county parks to be good. But under tough financial times, looks like we're going forward and we're going to have some tough financial times. We need to prioritize our spending our funds, and if these operational costs are going to be high, they should be going towards the sheriff's department. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Randy Figg. I'm on the county council. I represent District F, southern part of our county. And I got the figures. I like the financial part of this, but I got the figures, and for everyone in this county paying property tax, it's going to cost you an average $12 a year. But if you have a nicer home, of course, it could be $50 to $100. I've talked to a number of people in my district. Everyone told me to vote no, because why should they be paying for these kind of things? So that's quite a bit of money in this day and age that our property taxes are going up. Councilman Thomas mentioned safety. I want to talk to roads for a quick second here. Our roads are not that good of shape, excuse me. And the issue is, it's not our highway department. They do a great job. It's not our highway engineer. He does a great job. He just doesn't have the funds to do this. When I got on the council before the three members behind me, it was about $250,000, $300,000 to pave a mile of road. Now it's close to $500,000 because of inflation. I think that's come down a little bit, price of oil coming down. But we should take that money and fix our roads if we're going to bond something. I'm not in favor of bonding or spending tax increase for the citizens of St. Joe County. But I want to thank everyone coming out today, and I appreciate your time. Amy?
Okay, that's all, unless you guys have any questions.
But we do have some invested with the consultants and such. But it's hard to think of a bad time to bond for something that's been on the table for 25 years.
So your question is, why are we?
Well, you mean you could take the timing in a couple of different ways, or no?
Well, I think there's also future possibilities, right? I mean, we're still taking money. It doesn't matter how long it sat there. I'm sorry. Point is if we're at a time in the county finances that we have to borrow money to do it, that's what gives us pause, not how long we've had the property. I think another possibility down the road, and I'm not sure that this will come to fruition, but it could, is there's a Microsoft project close by in the data center over there. Now, if they do decide to tip that project and they draw in the park over there, that could be a way to support the growth of that area, which would not impact the taxpayers as much. And I think another possibility that we saw earlier on was the township, Harris Township, which also has two other parks in the area, wanted to develop this park, and they were going to do it for $400,000. With this park bond that we're seeing now, that the park is up to $5 million. So it's a huge jump in terms of how expensive they want to develop this park. So I think there's other ways to do it that might be more inexpensive or might open up in the future.
And let me address that. Also, we have to keep up. We have a very difficult time financially keeping up with what we have. So now we're going to be under tighter financial constraints. We have a difficult time keeping up with the county parks now. There's never enough money. Now we want to add multi-million-dollar park to the inventory. Now we want to add operational costs, which we don't know what they're going to be. And if those operational costs are high, how are we going to pay for that? And by the way, I still think the operational cost should go to public safety. That's the priority. Public safety and our roads and our parks.
You feel you've been heard fairly? Have you voiced the idea to full council?
I don't think the public has. I don't think the taxpayers have been heard. I don't think the taxpayers really know what's going on. And that's why we're holding this press conference, so we can educate the taxpayers of how their money is being spent.
How do you expect the vote to go tomorrow?
Good question. I don't know how the vote's going to go tomorrow. As of now, I would think it might go through, but hopefully people get more educated and can send us some emails and show up at the county council meeting and let their voices be heard.
What's that number one takeaway that you want taxpayers to know from this?
That we are taking on more debt And then we have something that's not being talked about, the operational cost. That's not being talked about. How much is it cost to operate a multi-million-dollar park? And that's not going to be cheap.
So is the concern more so the operational costs versus just the park being built
Both,
itself?
both, because we have to borrow money. We've got debt. We got to borrow money, and which is the bond, and the operational cost. But this is the first that nobody really has ever talked about operational cost.
When they first pitched, right, they've been pitching the bond, they said, well, since it's replacing another bond that was being retired, it wouldn't mean taxes going up. So how do you
But we could be saving taxes. So you could keep they pitch it as not adding more debt to or adding higher taxes to the citizen, but how about cutting taxes by not having it? Operational costs are not being talked about, and that is not a good thing. There is a hard cost there to operate these parks, and we're going to add a multi-million-dollar park. What's that cost to operate a multi-million-dollar park?
Hey, Joe, can I
Go ahead.
respond? Go ahead. So Joe, I think that's a good question. You know, these bonds were used in the past to pay for a 911 call center, which is public safety, and arguably that's something that you need all the time, that everybody has the chance to use. A park, you know, seems to have less urgency, especially since the county's owned the park for 20 years. So these bonds represent the county government borrowing money. It's a loan, right? And so you got to pay interest on the loan. So if we paid off the previous bonds, the previous loan, we don't have to take a new loan. We don't have to take out new bonds. We can instead save that money within the county government, and then when the county has saved up enough money, we could pay for the park outright. That way we're not incurring the interest costs. In fact, we're gaining interest on saving that money. So perhaps that's another way to look at fiscal responsibility.
I just say, somebody mentioned over here, you asked the question, we've had this property for 20 years, why now? Well, that's a good question, because why didn't they do it 20 years ago? Why didn't they do it 15? Because they didn't have the money. And that's what we're facing right now. I think we're in worse shape now than what we were 20 years ago, 15, 10 years ago. Especially with SB1. It's going to be bad next year. It's going to be worse the following year, and worse, even worse, the next year. So now's not the time to be going to debt.
Is there anything in Senate Bill 1 that says do it now or never?
No, sir. No. It doesn't say do it now or never. I missed that line if it's in there. No. It's just they're going to be cutting our funds next year and the following year and the previous year, next year after that. And it goes quite a bit. It's a lot. So budgeting, there goes my St. Joe County hat. Budgeting is going to be interesting this year and even more so next year than the following year. Quite a bit.
What's the opinion of the St. Joe County Parks? I mean, are the actual entities St. Joe County Parks Department, what's the opinion of them on building a new park versus allocating funds for what's already here?
Then what the
The-
maintenance is.
The county board did pass this already, so they are already going forward with this plan. However, we did attend some of the parks meetings a couple of months ago, and the question was posed with the bond that we're looking at, this $6 million bond. Are there enough existing projects right now at the park to cover that bond? And the answer was yes. So that's why we think if you're going to do something at the parks, you have enough existing problems here to take care of than to add something else to the portfolio right now. But also the question is, what is our priority with the cuts that we're going to have at the council? If we do need to borrow money for something, then it should be at least in the realm of something very important like public safety and roads. Those are always the top things we hear from our constituents. And as much as we love our parks, and we really do, and my family uses St. Pat's all the time, I mean several times a month sometimes. So these parks are very important to us, but we're also very lucky in this county to have so many parks between the township parks. Harris Township has 2 already. We have 5 county parks. We have tons and tons of South Bend and Mishawaka parks. So quality of life is important. Parks are important. Again, we like them, just not right now.
Amy, did you address
Right here.
Oh, you can see here, so the amphitheater here behind us, again, this is why I wanted to come out here, is because this amphitheater, at least I know, I live in this district, and the people in this district have strong and fond memories of sitting in this lawn here, seeing performances here. They've wanted to see this brought back to life. Through this bond, there's $300,000 earmarked to fix the roof. You can see the roof's in bad condition. However, it's still going to remain mothballed and not used. So this is one of the projects that we could be taking care of if we were going to take care of some of those existing projects at the park instead of taking on new debt for an additional park. I think, we've had all kinds of concerts here, all kinds of plays here, Filler on the Roof, I think REO Speedwagon, different things in the past, and people really like that outdoor opportunity to be entertained at one of their parks. So originally this was something that the parks had come to us asking to look at, to rehab. I think to knock it down was about $800,000, to rebuild maybe $1.7 million, and then they had like a very fancy version of a very expensive remodel. So those are some of the things that we've heard through the parks. Okay.
Mark, did you ever go to any concerts here?
I attended a lot.
Oh, that's what I meant. You attend a lot here? Okay.
Yeah, one of the performances I was at probably about 10 years ago, we had REO Speedwagon here, which they're a pretty significant band, and so you get people all over the hillside, very family friendly, watching the performance. I think we sat over there and we had our dogs with us, so it was a very nice experience. I'd love to see the maintenance on this is fixed up so we can continue to have events like that in our community.
All right, well, thank you guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Here's another story you may like, and subscribe to the WSBT 22 YouTube channel.